go ahead and get things started. Thank you all, everyone who's joining. My name is Sydney Reiners. I'm a customer success coach here at From Now On. A couple things before we get started. Make sure you can hover over your name and tap on those three dots. You can rename yourself to your name and your school institution that you're representing. Today, we are lucky enough to have John Wepking as our moderator. We've got some really great topics to cover here. Rethinking revenue, new student orientation. So, what are we, what's being done around that, unique ways to be able to engage those new students, and then internship programs. So athletic internships and how those are looking different, or just in general, being able to get students interested in helping out there. So again, we're going to kick things off with a 2-word check-in. We've been having fun with these last few Game Day Insider Happy Hour. So what you'll want to do is go ahead and select on the chat, and we'll have you provide your answers in there. And the battle royale today, the question is Chipotle or Qdoba? Let's not get too heated. We could take the whole 30 minutes just debating this. We already did it this morning on our stand-up. So go ahead and drop those in the chat. Before I hand things over to John, I do want to mention that we are recording our happy hour today. Reason for that is just for us to continue to create and provide additional content around these happy hours, so that you have a resource afterwards to be able to jump to and kind of get a recap on everything we discussed here today. So just a little bit of background there. And without any further ado, I guess I'll check this chat. I'm Chipotle all the way. Come at me. But
no
what
way.
are we seeing?
Pancheros.
What?
Pancheros. The tortilla. The mixing it up. You can't beat it. I'm sorry. I don't care how good your quesos or how fresh your veggies are. Mixing it up so you get consistency throughout the burrito with a fresh, gooey tortilla.
All right. Well, John's disqualified because the question was clearly Qdoba or Chipotle.
That's what we do these days, right? You give us 2 options and we find a third. Isn't that our world these days?
Pretty much.
Cool. Well,
perfect.
I think we started with the idea of rethinking revenue on that exact topic, not just within the app, but overall, as I'm knee deep in sales, reaching out to some of our new clients and customers, trying to rethink a lot of different ways to make revenue. We literally just got out of a meeting with my athletic director and deputy athletic director about that topic, and trying to rethink a temporary situation for the next year of how we're going to maintain and find balance in revenue. Not just trying to find revenue in new ways, but how do we keep our revenue consistent? Because right now, too many of our sponsorships are on 1-year agreements. And so how do we start getting multi-year agreements in place? What incentives do we need to put there? And then what things do we need to kind of sprinkle in to add brand new revenue and new clients and new activations? And so, as we shift into the new COVID situation, I was interested in having the discussion, sharing a little bit about what we're doing on the COVID front as far as sponsorship inventory. I've sat in on a lot of the NACMA stuff on sponsorships and tried to pick ideas out of those places. We have a minor league baseball team here in town, the Fargo Moorhead Redhawks, and trying to figure out, because they're starting up pretty soon here, on what they're doing on moving some of their sponsor inventory to different things, and just what to do when stuff might hit the fan this November. When you factor in the flu cold situation, if all of a sudden we go from fans to no fans mid-season, how to move sponsorship inventory quickly. And so we've started to, on those pieces, what we're doing, and then I'd love to hear what everybody else here is doing. So we've broken our plan down with our sponsors into basically making sure that they know that inventory is going to be flexible this year. So we're doing a sponsorship flex this year, where we are making sure that we don't do any billing until after the season is done, in case we need to move inventory. I don't want to do refunds. And so that helps us kind of be flexible. If all of a sudden one piece is down or not as valuable because we don't have fans, like a sign on the scoreboard, take the value of that, put it over into what we're calling our COVID inventory, and really listing out those pieces that are safe if there are no fans. And that's, you know, your broadcast, your app, which is why this is applicable to this discussion, this platform, social media, and making sure that you're monetizing social media, but also leaving gaps. And that's the contingency plan of, if you sell out on all of your broadcasts and all your social and all your mobile, well, what about all the other sponsors who have some of that in-venue stuff? You're not going to have a whole lot of inventory left to shift. And so I came from the TV world where you sold commercials and you left promos in there to promote yourself for that kind of situation, for making good, so that you can take some of those signage sponsors and leave some of those spaces in there that you're promoting yourself and say, hey, we want to make sure you're happy. We're going to give up our promo to put you in there and make that all happy. So that's one thing that we're doing with inventory, even though we have kind of started to list COVID inventory, you know, things like sideline signage. I have a whiteboard over here. I'm just staring distractedly. The broadcast, and just thinking of new ways to sell the broadcast. You know, graphics are one thing, but sponsors want in-game. So what in-game things can we do without being too NASCAR-y, was the word was used in our NSIC meetings yesterday, Andy, right? And how do you strike that balance between covering the sport and sponsorship when that's one of your primary delivery methods? And we own our own broadcast, which is nice. There's not a third party doing that. So we have a lot of control over that. But even, how do you monetize not just your TV sports? How can we start monetizing, you know, the sports that we have, like soccer, softball, swimming and diving? You know, what are some of those other ways, wrestling, how can we monetize the productions of a wrestling match when the viewership sucks, right? There's just not that many people it's a niche sport. There's not a lot of viewership. And so what we've done is, instead of trying to sell that match by match, is doing more of a season-long sponsorship. So there's one sponsor for the entire wrestling season. So the frequency and the accumulation of all those eyeballs is worth more than just a single wrestling match. Just trying to think about things and rethinking things that way. Obviously, social media. So we haven't done a good job of that. And so we're just going to agree to use a company called Box Out Sports, which the NAIA just signed an agreement with, so that we can start integrating sponsorships with coaches across the board with our department. You know, they do a really good job of having some advertising inventory in there. So there's a plug for them, even though I haven't spent $1 with them yet, but they have a fun, unique platform. E-tickets. I know a lot of people are going to online ticketing only. What advertising inventory exists on your ticketing site, on your e-ticket itself, you know, on the delivery method that you're having it, whether or not it's going through the app or not. Like, where can you inject a sponsor? Because if that's the primary mode a fan is going to come through the gates, making sure you have that monetized. Obviously, scanning stations, you know, as we talk about putting up plastic guards as they go by scanners on their way in, selling signage on that to make sure is that those bottlenecks are monetized. And if you're changing your flow of fans, you know, to have the in and out in different ways. So we don't want them going through our building. So we're going to a fully outdoor ticketing method where they go in the north gate and come out the south gate, and going concessions outside, merchandise sales outside, porta potties outside, which isn't the greatest situation, but at least there's less people going through the building to infect our athletes. And as we know, this year, it's going to be may the healthiest team win. So how can we ensure the health and safety, and then figure out the fan flow so that we can find and walk through that vision of those places to monetize? We're talking about doing an at-home watch box. So instead of a season ticket, sending them a box season ticket with a Roku stick, sponsored by our internet company, because obviously if there's a streaming stick involved, there's internet involved. So doing an at-home watch box or a at-home season ticket, and working out with our sponsors to basically incur the cost to deliver a great at-home experience, throw in some t-shirts and whatever that goes with that as well. But just trying to find unique ways to engage that at-home audience. Trying to create content as well that's a little bit more digestible in the social media world. So big fan of Sports Center on Snapchat. So we killed our coaches show, which was 30 minutes long, a magazine style, and a ton of freaking work. Nobody watched it. They want small, tiny, digestible pieces. And so what we did is we made what we call our DL recap. Dragons Live is our television show. So this is just a short, condensed 5-minute show. Usually starts off with something stupid and then just recaps what happened throughout the week. We have a partnership with a company called Really that allows us to pull live streams from away games so that we're just looking for like 1 or 2 highlights of every game to get in there. A dunk, a touchdown, a turnover, a kill, celebration. And so that allows us to get that away content. So it's not just a graphic. We play a video. Hey, this person did really good. This person did really good over a video, and then graphic at the end, next sport. So it just moves really kind of quick. And we saw great success with that last spring as we started to implement it towards the end of basketball season. But that's a sponsorship piece. Obviously, making sure you monetize the hell out of your podcast, and not so much just the podcast piece, but videotaping it as much as humanly possible, as I like to call the Gary V style. So if you're not familiar with Gary Vaynerchuk, he's a content nightmare. He's kind of an a-hole, but you got to love him because he tries to spread positivity. But by recording your podcast, it creates so much more tinier, digestible content that you can put out and sponsor. And so trying to, we've had more success posting the recording of our podcast on Zoom and just adding a branded overlay in Premiere than we have any listenership we have on Apple or Spotify or whatever. Our own network does much, much better than anything on those platforms as well. So that's a sponsorable piece that went well. Making events social. So as I've talked about probably this before, we moved our awards banquet to more social media based, where we posted nominations throughout the week, kind of like an award ceremony, spread it out. But because that content moved from an in-venue experience and an exclusive thing to the masses and more eyeballs, well, that makes it more tempting to sponsorships. And so trying to move maybe some of your events to partially social media based and seeing what things you can have associated with that to be sponsored. Scanning station, sanitizer pumps. Obviously, if you can sell signage on that, that would be fantastic. Yeah, so that's a vomit of our COVID inventory that we are focusing on. So when someone says, I don't want to do anything in venue, I don't want to do those things that might not be valuable if fans are pulled, these are the things that I'm going to recommend. It's the broadcast, the social, the mobile, the kind of unique pieces. And so what else have you guys seen, heard out there as far as making some revenue in different ways?
I just popped a question into the chat as well. I'm curious about ticket sales as well. If at some point fans aren't allowed, if anyone has ways of allowing fans to opt to donate the money they've already spent versus get the refund. And I'm not sure if that's come up for anyone recently.
Yeah, our NSIC, I think, call yesterday talked about that exactly. It was not just ticketing, but event tickets. Anytime you're selling, we just talked about courtside seats, offering the 3 options. Get your refund. We want to be, if that's the way it needs to happen, and everybody's dollar is more important these days than ever, we'll refund. A credit, use a credit towards next year's courtside seat purchase, next year's table sponsorship at our gala event or whatever it is, or your ticket, a credit towards next year, or the last one is a donation to our scholarship fund. And
Sure.
When they know it's going to a scholarship versus an operating budget, they're more likely to make that donation. So that helps that a little bit. And from what some of our peers shared with us yesterday across our conference, most people are opting to donate. So that's good news. And not that we're trying to offer things that we're not going to fulfill and hope you donate the money. It's just trying to, all of us, we've got to try to do some of these things because, right now, you have a donor club. Why are they a donor? Because they get exclusive access to different things. Well, like what? We can't offer exclusive access to players because we want to keep them healthy. how do you have exclusive events with coaches, at a restaurant with a bunch of people? I mean, those kind of things don't really vibe in this environment right now. So how can we rethink the exclusive donor experience or the season ticket holder experience to offer those exclusive things that are no longer on the table? Because the question is why should I? And if we can't answer that question, we're screwed. So that's tough. I mean, we're just starting to rethink that stuff. Anybody made progress on those topics?
It might be unique to our venue here, but most of our donors are probably 45 and older, and they're scared to death of technology. And it's been a challenge to kind of figure out how to get the folks above me to try to push that group in some other ways, using technology. I think our younger demographics will be fine moving forward. They might actually prefer some of what we're doing, but some of the larger checks with zeros on it are coming from folks that are going to take a lot of training and understanding why we can't throw a t-shirt up in the stands, for example. Like, those are things that I'll be interested to hear how those conversations go. But I'm sure we're a pretty small town, bigger city, you probably have a bigger dynamic around it, but our fan base is definitely older and sees it a little bit differently.
No, it's a tough world right now, but we can't just stop at that, and we've got to try to find that blend of technology and connection, because our business is all about relationships. And if technology is not a tool that we can leverage to build that relationship, all we have is our phone calls, our presence, written letters. It might be a little bit going old school. I mean, if you're 45 and older demographic, wants that personal touch, let's bring back those letter writing campaigns. Those might not be all the donors with the multiple zeros at the end of the check, but it might reignite some of those people and those thoughts in a way that we haven't done in a long time because the cost was heavy. So how can we do some of those things a little bit differently? And so just rethinking sponsorship inventory, rethinking how we engage with donors in this new world at both a small level and a big level. So like right now we're going through trying to fund a new weight room. We've got a match from a donor, and so we're going to go with a campaign to try to get money for a weight room. And I think it's an easy one. And I hate using the word easy because that's an assumption right now is not a good thing. So how do you raise funds for a facility like that? And I say easy because I want to do a communications platform where one gift is worth 10,000 lifts. If you buy one dumbbell, that's going to get lifted 10,000 times. If you're going to buy one bar or one plate, and so doing some micro gifts, some crowdfunding, as we've all called it, how can we break down some of our bigger campaigns into more digestible pieces for people to know and understand? I'm trying to follow up with Tim at Southwest Minnesota State because they did some crowdfunding stuff a couple of years ago, and he says he's still doing a little bit of it. So I'm curious to see if anybody else has had in rethinking revenue success with crowdsourcing on a smaller level rather than checks with zeros.
Doing alumni challenges. So I came from St. Cloud State prior to, and so I know they've done it the last few years, and I was there when we first started it, and it was literally just having all the teams, the current teams, try to get their alumni to donate to this alumni challenge, and it was competing. And so it was based off percentages. So then again, the team that got the most percentage of if it was either dollars or the most percentage of participation from their alumni, that team then it got an additional 5,000 into their operating budget or whatever the case may be. And I know this year they did it because they had to fund for a new weight room as well, and so they did it around that, where I'm not sure if the team got a cut like they've normally done in the past, but they've done it where all of the money went to fund their new weight room. and then it was matched. They had a match as well. So those types of things I think drive a little bit further with people, especially competing teams. I mean, hey, you want your team to win. If you were part of that team, or if you're just supporting that team, you want them to win. So those types of things I think help out as well, and that's all crowdfunding. So
did we talk about the Shadron thing once already? Shadron, I hate saying Shadron had a great idea, but they did. Shadron State in Nebraska, if anybody knows where that is.
Don Beebe was a good idea. It worked out for them. So
yeah, that worked out pretty well. But they did a kind of a challenge bracket where they had all-time greatest teams, or it was all-time greatest teams or all-time greatest games, and for each sport. And so each sport moved through the bracket based on donation dollars, not votes. And so whoever generated the most dollars moved ahead in the bracket. And as it got heated, the dollars started going up and up and up. And so that's a great way to kind of blend social media content, a little nostalgia, and engage some audiences that might not have been engaged in a while with that kind of a campaign. So I hate to say Shadron had a great idea, but I'll offer it up to the group here to steal, because I just thought it was a unique thing. We did something like that for our awards banquet where we had a player card bracket, and the votes were crazy. Our championship round was a women's basketball player and a dancer got over 2,000 votes in a day. Like, that's just great engagement. And so how can we use, people love brackets, I would say, he said it like that, but Doug Peters would say it, people love brackets. That's just what he says, for those of you, 3 of you who know him. But yeah, if you can find a way to bracket, make it a competition, and then work in a revenue piece, either as a sponsor or as a vote to advance kind of thing, I think that could be a great campaign, as long as it's tied to a larger piece. Right now in the summer, to keep things relevant, yeah, that's a good one. But how does that fit into the overall strategy once we get into the school year and start playing games and start talking about the weight room campaign or that campaign, just making sure that aligns to department strategy. So yeah, we probably got to move on to another topic because we're running out of time already. Holy crap. So the 2 other things that we wanted to talk about was new student orientation and internships. Because we're nearing the end of our time, does anybody have a sway on what you want to talk about?
yeah, I guess our campus is in Minnesota State. It seems like I'm pretty new to this role. Obviously, all the new student orientation, it seems every school is doing it differently. I have one going off to Mankato this fall, and I know what we're doing. And athletically, that just drives me nuts that we would have 6 or 7 schools under the same system doing it completely different. Am I off on that? I know some folks wouldn't quite, it doesn't fall under your purview, but having 7 schools under the same brand doing 7 different things is bizarre to me. And am I
Nope.
off on that, or
No, it's bizarre, but it happens all the time. Unfortunately, we even call it Welcome Week. We don't even call it orientation anymore.
Yeah. Okay.
It goes by different names, takes different phases, and it's just identifying the opportunities that are happening on your campus and making sure you're as involved as humanly possible. And right now, they don't know what those opportunities are and what those are going to look like. So getting into those discussions of what is this going to look like, what is that going to look like. We used to do a scavenger hunt where kids stopped all over campus to visit each building so they knew where classes were and libraries and resources were. Well, I don't know if we're going to do that anymore. But that brought every single freshman into the athletics building where I could have them check in on the rewards app. And if they checked in, they got like an ungodly amount of points to make it worth the while of setting up their account. Right. And so and we've identified orientation as the #1 day where we get the most registrations of our app. We'll get 300-400 students in 3 days. And that's a huge chunk of new activations for students. And it's all because when we're on campus, there's really 2 events that we attend. And the biggest one is our Sidewalk Cafe, where they just have a bunch of tables set up in the campus mall. Students go see student organizations, there's local businesses, there's different departments on campus, and they just walk around and do stuff. So we'll have a game to play. If you win, you put your name in for this prize. If you lose, you put your name in for that prize. It's just like we have a beanbag tower game from Shields. It's really cool. So we have people playing the game and people kind of standing around grabbing stickers and whatever little promo stuff we have sitting out there, but we'll have our rewards inventory sitting there, our AirPods, our computer, a TV, you know, a Spike Ball Pro game, all this kind of sweet stuff. And that grabs their attention. It's like, oh, cool stuff. How do I win that? Well, hey, you got to get the Dragons app and start and sign up for rewards. If you do it right now, you get 1,000 points, which is basically worth like $10 for going through the process right now in worth of this inventory. So get the app, let them know that games are free to go to so that they don't have that stigma in their head for us. And then third and foremost is join our internship program, right? Our Go team. And so that's what happens with us is we promote those three things like absolute crazy. And, you know, what does that look like next semester? I don't know. But I feel like we could have great conversations with the people putting those on to make sure that we have at least a presence to communicate those three messages as much as we possibly can, and show them the kind of things that they win, have a chance to win something on the spot. Say that we'll do a drawing. We'll have an orientation drawing. If you check in at any orientation event, that's one entrance into the drawing for, we had a custom Dragons dartboard made for like $110. It was sweet. It was metal darts. It was super cool. And that got people's attention. And so, you know, how much is 100 or 200 installs worth to you? $100? Yeah, that's great. That's 100 people I can send. And I tell them I will let them know via push notification. So they have to leave their push notifications on, which is key because that's the primary way that we can communicate with them about prizes, drawings, concert tickets. Well, we'll see about those. But like that's the primary way that we communicate prizes and ways to win different things. And that's what they care about. So we do a drawing at the end of Welcome Week for a dartboard. I'll make a stupid video about it and show up, you know, at their dorm door or, you know, meet up with them and put that on social media. And then that goes crazy and creates more awareness of our rewards program and more people getting in our app. So it kind of compounds from that point on of just using that, not just to convey the message, but to create content. You know, I have an intern there with a phone, just filming what we're doing, filming people playing the game, filming people, you know, talking about the app. And we just put that out on social media and stories. And that works really, really well of communicating to even a larger audience that you got to get the app. It's free to go to games and join the Go team. And so those are the three main things that we do in orientation. But key for this year is getting in those planning conversations early to make sure athletics is a part of the Welcome Week orientation process.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And I hate to cut us off early because I know a lot of times we've gone over, you know, 15 minutes or so on our happy hours here. But unfortunately, Riley, who had to jump off for a meeting, he's the owner on this meeting. So he can't join his new meeting or start it without kicking all of us out. So
well, that's poor planning on his part.
Hate mail can go to rmcclure@fnoex.com. But I am going to drop a form into the chat here. We are looking for moderators for July. So if, you know, any of you are interested in moderating, please jump on, fill it out. But thank you all for joining. And again, I'm so sorry that I have to cut us off early. Thanks again to John. Great topics. Great information. Stay tuned for a blog to follow on this information. I'm sure we'll bug you, John, to fill it with more information and know-hows from you. But okay, he just slacked me and said it works now. So.
All right, let's talk about it. Any questions? I mean, what are you guys doing for orientation that's worked then?
It's not necessarily an orientation question because I haven't had a chance to go through that, but do you get in front of your teams like during a team meeting and just educate them through, we need you to like our Facebook page. We need you to do this. Because that's something I'm trying to get our coaches to give me 5 minutes, you know, in some meeting. Now it'd be different now with, who knows if we even have meetings, but you know, I'm curious how you bring big groups of people in at one time, you know, that should be on this stuff already, but it takes a while to educate them a little bit. So.
Yes. So we do have a student athlete orientation that I get like 5 minutes, and it's the same. It's two messages. It's the app, and it's join the Go team, because some of our employees are athletes, and I can work around an athlete's schedule pretty well depending on your season, except for track, because that's all the time, especially distance runners. They kick my ass. But like, so yeah, I do get in front. But the big thing that we do is and Sydney pains every year when I tell her to pull the info, but we do a Fired Up Cup. So we have a traveling bragging rights trophy for the team that checks in at other teams' events most frequently. And so we do the math on that kind of the hard way, but that gets them competing and gamifies using the app, checking in, knowing when things are going on. You know, we've seen just a huge buy-in from athletes in attendance ever since we did that. For the last 3 years, a majority of our student section is student athletes, just supporting each other. And the additional piece of the rewards app just makes it even sweeter. Plus there's sweet dragon stuff that they can win too as part of it. So yeah, we really try to get in front of them, and because we're not gonna be able to have that big giant group event in the bleachers like we've used to do, I might try to just sneak into some preseason compliance meetings to see if I can grab them for a minute. I might try to sneak into, you know, we're going to have to do some athletic training paperwork pieces at some point as they come in and do those things. So, you know, can I piggyback some meetings? And if there's anything required or mandatory for them to do, I'll try to sneak in there and let them know what's kind of going on. But
Cool.
we're actually moving our team communication. So we're in the process of, it's kind of team by team. Uh-oh, my daughter Nora just came in. You got to say hi to her.
Nora.
Soft team. Come here. You can say hi. It's just Sydney and some friends. Come here.
Daddy.
Hi. Oh, this is Nora. Say hi, everyone.
Hi, Nora.
Hi, Nora.
Mom's at a doctor's appointment, so she's hanging out with me right now. But
Gotcha.
we're moving our communication for Teams onto Microsoft Teams. And so we're going to use that platform to communicate things like that, like summer workouts, educational opportunities, development opportunities through Microsoft Teams, to centralize some of that communication. Because right now, if there's an emergency, there is not an easy way to get in touch with all of our student athletes other than email that they don't check. So moving to Microsoft Teams, having our coaches communicate with them through chats on that will centralize some of that emergency communication as well, and allow us the opportunity to communicate a little bit better what's going on in our world as far as apps, marketing, promotion, offers, things like that. Yes, dear.
There's no secrets on Zoom. You better be careful.
He wants to watch Frozen. That's what's happening right now.
Ooh, one
You
or
wanna build a
two.
snowman?
Frozen 2 today, right?
Yeah.
Into the unknown.
Yeah, and also because obviously Let Go is done, so I just watched it.
Yeah, they just watched Let It Go this morning, and I got a full dance production. So
Cool.
We got to find your TikTok account, and then we'll be ready to go.
You choreographed it, so
here, I'll go turn it on for you. So what else?
Jeremy, any questions orientation wise or internship
Yeah, I was
wise?
about to, I know I haven't talked much. A lot of stuff. I mean, we do the same type of stuff with our rewards app. But one thing we did just recently last week, actually, because we're right in the midst of orientation right now. And obviously, I mean, the rewards app, and we want that to be as big or as much of a part of that as possible. And I mean, campus has been awesome with us, being able to work with us and including us in their orientation sessions and that kind of stuff. So, I mean, already we have virtual orientations going on right now. And athletics has a small 10-minute piece in that where we actually, I mean, all come in and talk about student tickets and then our app. And then we've brought in a coach as well who kind of talks about their program and why they should be coming out to the games and all that kind of stuff. But one thing we did this last week is our Welcome Center right on campus did a kind of a drive-through event going down the street that kind of goes right by our basketball and volleyball arena. And they're just Mostly, I mean, they just kind of use it to drop off some stuff, drop some stuff off, but give them stuff in preparation for this next fall semester. But we also they were able to kind of include us in on that, where we gave they also said, hey, if you download the Maps to Boards app, you can get a free t-shirt from athletics. So that's what we did, and that's what we were a part of. So it's kind of a fun event where, I mean, the students kept or stayed in their cars while they got their stuff, but we were able to they were able to show us if they got the app or not, and then we gave them t-shirts that way, and we ended up getting close to 200 or so downloads. So pretty cool event. Again, I mean, it's all a part of, or it's all because, I mean, we're able to get that in with the campus leaders and that kind of stuff to include us in on those. But at the same time too, I mean, having free t-shirts, I mean, that's something that, I mean, they're all about too. So they enjoyed having us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that was pretty cool. And like I said, it got us close to 200 downloads with our app. So obviously a huge deal for us.
Yeah. And so what we've had a problem with is the cost of 200 shirts. You know, it's going to get.
Yeah, and these are leftover shirts from last year from like one of the promotions that we did. So it's nice for us. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you've got them, great. But if you don't, you know, we've kind of drifted more towards, you know, big prizes and doing the drawings, just because we don't have to. You know, if all of a sudden 400 people get your app and you don't have that many shirts and you got to buy 200 shirts, that's a son of a gun. And so, you know, doing more of the drawings. You know, we've done a welcome week tour where every event, or a homecoming tour, where every event there's a check-in for the athletics app, even if we're not involved, just to kind of steal the thunder a little bit. And so check in at every single one of those events, and each check-in is a chance to win a pair of Beats headphones or AirPods or something like that. And then it's only $100 or $200 for a pair of headphones versus $1,000 in t-shirts. Now, you're not going to have as many people winning or wearing your brand out there, but it might be a more cost-effective way to do some of those things that we've done just because we broke.
Yeah, I like that. And that's something, we did a few of those things last year with a couple of giveaways. We normally have more, I mean, obviously it's kind of an in-person orientation. Means we had a couple, I mean, didn't do anything too big, and I kind of like that, having 4 different sessions, check in to each of these sessions. And
but systemize it. Do like a drawing a month, right? And have a sponsor provide that item, right? So like Midco, our internet TV sponsor, they'll give away a free 50-inch TV, right? And then next week we'll talk to B-Dubs and they'll give away a $100 gift card. And so you can keep and vary that up and, you know, save some sweet stuff for pivotal times for you. But, you know, what can you have your sponsors give you to give away that doesn't make you incur any of that cost?
I like that, yeah. Because we've been, it's been a little sporadic here. So, yeah, I like that.
And they'll love that idea because you're promoting them for a month. Right? Right? That's good stuff. That's good exposure.
It's probably unique to our environment here, again, being a small town, but bed and breakfast companies, which are not even really a company, just bed and breakfast, who normally would never touch any kind of advertising, they're finding they love the idea of doing stuff with us because they know that parents are coming here and they're not thinking about staying in a Holiday Inn, or if the game gets canceled, they might still be willing to go to Turning Waters bed and breakfast for a weekend or something. Now their budgets are real low and their margins are real low, so you know it's not gonna make you not broke or whatever, but it's been a population that's never been able to, from what I can tell, even break in on. And we're trying to put them on social media. You know, you sponsor our Twitter feed for this one weekend, and all these parents are going to see a bed and breakfast logo that maybe they don't rent from you until next fall or next spring. But there's definitely some streams out there that normally wouldn't be looking at athletics as a place to advertise. But again, it might be unique to us because we're a small rural town, but.
Right, but then get creative. That's a great idea. But can I like log into like VRBO and see what vacation rentals are within my area, and don't reach out as someone who wants to book. Reach out as, hey, I see you're trying to sell your property during the season, or you might have a lull in the wintertime because most people will think about you during lakes time.
Yeah.
You know, if you have some holes to fill, help us, or, you know, sponsor some of our stuff, and we'll help promote those gaps for you. That's a great idea. I haven't even thought about something like that. So I've had a good success piece with home builders recently.
Yeah.
Just because our students stay in town for the most part once they graduate, and eventually they're going to want to buy a home, and they're trying to sell different properties and neighborhoods in different areas and try to build starter homes or that next level of homes for some of the elite audiences. So your golf tournaments, galas, Hall of Fames, they want that audience to sell their higher scale homes, but they also rent some of their builds that aren't filled yet. And so, you know, those property companies who are trying to rent to students, or you know, parents who are renting for their kids or buying it and then leasing it to their kids, like they really, really love the idea of partnering with us. And I did not expect that. One of my buddy's wives works for that company. And he's like, yeah, I was telling her about what you do, and she was super interested. And the second we got in there, that was one of my best leads of the year. And now we're looking at a couple of her competitors, but don't tell her that.
Might not be your buddy anymore if that happens. Yeah. Right?
I buy him a lot of beer. We'll be fine.
Yeah, the beer piece has helped us with the bed and breakfast. There's 4 of them that are partnered with. It's a brewery and a bed and breakfast together.
Ooh.
So again, I think it has that. If you know, even if the game's canceled, we're still coming. We're still having a good time. Maybe even a better time than we would have if you know.
You just sold all of us.
That sounds like where I'm going to retire.
Yeah, yeah, but there's but yeah, they've not needed a platform before to reach audiences because their volume is so small. But now I'm curious if they're going to start, if we'll actually see rates go up for them, so you can get a room at the Holiday Inn for $30 now, but you know, going right at the bed and breakfast is $300 because they have that kind of volume. I don't know. It could be at some point you're taking advantage of COVID, which maybe I don't want to be that guy either, but it is a way at least to leverage the situation to hopefully keep some revenue coming in for us and everyone else for that matter.
Yeah, it's a great idea. I will steal that.
Oh, we're not in the same market for that for sure. So
right.
I'll be curious to see if some of this, we got a couple of D3s in the area here too. I'm assuming at some point they may be looking at that, but right now we're out in front. Hopefully we stay there.
We all look at each other's sponsors. I mean, it's just, it's what we do, because you got to know the portfolio of the sponsor before you walk in. It's just like donors. You got to know where they're giving, what they're doing, when they give, you know, and for sponsors are no different. You've got to do your homework or what we called, what was it called yesterday? The scout report. Yeah. So you got to get a scout on a sponsor. And so you got to know what they're doing for the media. You got to know what they're doing for radio. You got to know what they're doing in the newspaper, to see if you can get a portion of that wallet by understanding, hey, you know, you have all this great mass stuff. Let's create relationships with experiential stuff in game, you know, where you can get in front of them on a person-to-person basis and give you some FaceTime with them. You know, do an interview with a sponsor during a broadcast and just see how, you know, check in on how they're doing, what's going on. Things like that, to you know, shift some of their marketing funds into sports, with all the fun stuff that we have going on. It's the nice cherry on top to a larger campaign. At least that's how I sell it. See if they buy that this year. But what else? Anybody care about interns?
Got good ones, let me know. Yeah, we're a 1.5 person show now down here, so it's going to be no matter what happens, the fall is going to be super interesting.
Jeremy, do you guys do paid internships, or are they just volunteer?
We do, or we have, or we still will. I mean, we're still planning on it, but unfortunately, with our budget getting cut a lot, we're going to have to cut a lot of that staff. But let's see, last year we had 10 paid interns who are all paid out.
Do you sponsor your internship program?
No. Do you?
Yeah.
Wow. Shoot.
Yes.
SN or what?
Yeah. They give us trade for all of our swag.
Really?
Yep. And
I'm writing this down here.
Sponsor your internship team. I mean, they're out there with hats on. They're out there with pullovers and shoulder stuff. And, you know, BSN is a great sponsor, and they're allowing us to put other sponsors. I mean, we can NASCAR the Go team. I mean, they can run out there like a soccer player with logos all over our damn shirts, right? So, you know, sponsoring our Go team is sponsoring our race cars. There are our rock stars who are all over the place. And so if you're having trouble paying for your internship program, sponsor it. Get, you know, these are the people, and these are workers too. You know, it's a great thing to get visible there too. So we've had success with that to help pay for some of those positions. You know, sponsoring our mascot is a conversation we're starting to have right now. I know the Red Hawks have Sanford Children's as a sponsorship on their mascot. So, you know, something like that really, you know, fits well. So what are some ways that you can sponsor those teams to not incur so much overhead on your internship costs?
Yeah, I'm not sure how much thought has been put into that, so I'll have to bring that up for sure. BSN, all right.
Yeah, BSN, they did really well with us. I mean, we're at what, $2,000 sponsorship. So that helps pay for all of our hats, all of our polos. We do a quarter zip and the backpack for every intern. They get a polo, quarter zip, backpack, and a hat, and they freaking love it. They feel like they're, well, I mean, the athletes, you know, when do you feel like an athlete? When you're walking around with that backpack around campus, right? Feeling like the boss. You got the team swag. Your internship staff is no different. Treat them like a team, and they'll feel like a team, and they'll perform like a team. And you got to have uniforms, and BSN wants to provide uniforms to teams. It was a perfect fit, and they pay for all of it and then some. So that was a nice fit that helped us cut down our costs for having a team.
For sure.
But we only pay our event workers. And that was this thing we started last year, as we saw less and less students signing up to help us with cameras and things like that. And it was too expensive to hire pros, so or non-students. And so we had to pay. We just got backed into a corner and we had to pay. And then within a week, we had 4 new students. And that's the number one reason why students have left our program, is they needed to make money. And they got a job with Shields or something. And so if we can get them to have a little revenue, they're going to be more consistent. They're going to work harder. And so we bit the bullet there on paying student event work in office, because it's part of the planning. It's so strategic. It's just a really great experience for volunteers, for work study kids, to get experience and learn. You know, and it's not necessary, really, like a camera operator or a clock operator or a stats, you know, backup stats person. So we have not paid for that. And we've been lucky to get really great work study kids, including videographers that are all work study. So that's helped us balance some of those costs. And, you know, talking to your financial aid department and getting a list of all the students who have work study funds and sending them communication and saying, hey, you've got work study funds that could save you money and get you a great job on campus. Check us out. Here's what we got going on. And we've even made a recruiting page for Go teams, just like our sports have. So if you go to msgmdragons.com/Go team, you'll see our recruiting page for our program, where you'll find, you know, information on who we are, what we do, what we stand for, hype videos, you know, testimonials from some of our students. We recruit just like teams recruit, so that we get the best talent. And we make sure that we pay at least $1 more than anybody else on campus, so that we can say we're the highest paying jobs on campus, right? Because that matters. Even just $1, that doesn't move it that much. But, you know, what can you do to recruit better talent, to have a place to funnel them? Yep, there's the link, Sid. Thank you. But yeah, just recruit. And they're just vital. Like, you know, Pete said, we're in situations that it's me and I'm going to be gone with a new baby in hopefully 2 months. So I need to rely on a really competent student staff to fill those gaps. And we've built that program to the point where I'm not worried about it. And to have, you know, what's better, having a full-time or 2 GAs to lean on, or having a team of 30 students. That's the constant discussion, is if you can invest 10 grand and 10 grand into 2 GAs, or if you can invest 20 into student staff, which would you rather have? And the answer for everyone, I think, is different. It might be a hybrid. It might be the GAs because you've got an established program for student work that doesn't cost you much because you've integrated it into internships across campus. It changes for everybody in your situation with your campus internships program, your budget. It just depends. And right now we don't have a whole lot of backup. And so because we do so many things, it's really hard to even put that on a couple of GAs and expect them to be there all the time. So we went the student route, and we have not looked back since. It's been incredible for us. It's a great learning opportunity. And because of it, the campus loves us because we're providing great student experiences to non-athletes. And we've ended up getting $200,000 in student tech fee funds to support it. I mean, that's where all of our production stuff has come from, is because we talk to campus and there's fees set aside to invest in technology for students to use. Well, we say, hey, we're the lab for all of these students to learn how to use cameras for video production, photography, live production. And it's all just, it's just incredible how much they enjoy investing in something that not just gets into the students' hands, it gives them cutting edge tools and technology to use every day and learn with to decide what they want to buy themselves in the future. They also use it to showcase our brand and our student athletes doing incredible things. And then we broadcast it to as many people as we possibly can so that all their work gets seen and looks great on a resume. I mean, it just, all of those things combine into a great opportunity for the university to invest in itself. And that's been a key part of our internship program and funding some pieces, is getting that assistance from the university because we are student run.
I'm just going to ask for like 2 tokens each kid for waiving their first 2 parking tickets. And I think we'll probably exceed any worker amount that we need. You know, just here you go, 2 free passes on parking tickets. After that, no paycheck. But at least on our campus, that would be a big deal.
I used to work for pizza, man. I get it.
Yeah. I'll be curious to see. I'm hoping to get around to every school between fall sports and winter sports. Try to get on, you know, on site everywhere. It'll be interesting to see how that works out. So
we were hoping to have everybody conference meetings. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. But we were excited to show you guys underneath the hood of what we do. And like right now, our gym is used by Shields All Sports, who's shooting some volleyball commercials, and 3 of their video crew on the corporate side are RX Go team members. And so I've got 3 alum on my building right now shooting national spots for Shields All Sports, which is kind of cool. They rented a Red camera, so I've never seen a $50,000 camera before. So that was pretty fun.
Sydney, are you really a Man City fan?
I am. How could you
the
tell?
Technology era back there? Oh my gosh. Right.
They just lost. And Liverpool are
took
now.
the deal. Yeah.
Yeah.
Never walk alone, Liverpool. So yeah.
Jeremy,
we're not really here.
If you guys ever want to follow up and have any other discussions, you know, Andy, no to you. But if you guys ever want to talk, let me know. Talking shop is the only way we're going to get through this. You know, if whatever figure out what works for each of us, you know, might not work for somebody else, or might work. You know, you never know. And it just bouncing ideas off each other is so valuable, because you just might not have thought of one little tiny thing here or there. Do you want this water? Say goodbye, Nora. I think it's time for us to go.
Bye. Thank you guys for joining. Thanks for hanging on after what could have been a technical difficulty, but wasn't. Again, check out those links in the chat if any of you are interested in being a moderator. Otherwise, follow us on social media. That's where we'll announce our next moderators. And thank you, John, mostly, and thank you all for joining.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thanks, Sydney. Thanks, John. I'll take you up on that. I appreciate it.
For sure.
Catch you later.
Bye.